Hey everybody, and welcome so much to this little talk that we're going to have today with a little bit of Q&A, talking about studying in Canada and things like admissions and scholarships and financing. We're not going to get into too heavy details. We want this to be fun. We want this to be engaging. I'll introduce myself first, and then I'll let my other two colleagues here introduce themselves. My name is Ryan, and I'm the International Recruitment Officer for Glendon Campus of York University in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ryan. My name is Calvin, and I'm also an International Admissions and Recruitment Officer at Carleton University, located in Ottawa, Canada's capital city.
And my name is Kelly. I am a Recruitment Officer for Bishop's University, and we are located in Sherbrooke, Quebec.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much, guys. So going to give you a little bit of a crash course in what is Canada. That's a big question that we could probably take hours and hours and hours describing to you, but we're not going to do that today. Don't worry about that. But much like the United States, we are a federation. So, Canada has provinces. We have 10 provinces and 3 territories in the north. And, obviously we all know the United States has 50 states and has some territories abroad as well. So the 3 universities that we're talking to you from today are 2 of them are located in Ontario. Mine is in Toronto. Carleton is in Ottawa, and Bishop's is in Sherbrooke, Quebec. So that's in Quebec. What you may know as well is that Canada has 2 official languages. We have English and French. And definitely one of the main themes here for our 3 universities is that we definitely are located in places, or we have programs that can offer you a primarily English education, but with a little bit of French as well to pick that up, which I can talk about the advantages of that a little later afterwards. We're a big country. We're a lot larger than the United States in terms of landmass. We're actually the 2nd largest country in the world geographically, and most of the country is located quite north in terms of landmass. But actually, most of the population of Canada, which is about 37 million people, are all located within 1 to 2 hours of the American border. So if you were to decide to study abroad in Canada, to do your program for 4 years in Canada, you would be in another country with very different culture and very different experiences, but you actually wouldn't be that far away from home. So that's kind of something that a lot of students have told me is something that's really advantageous to them. They think, oh, okay, so I'm going away, I'm having an international experience, but I'm not going so far away that like getting home for Thanksgiving is this huge ordeal and very expensive and that kind of thing. It's actually quite easy to travel. Normally, we're obviously talking about not COVID times right now, but when things do hopefully, get back to normal soon, you will be able to travel quite easily between the 2 countries. So Canada is also, if we can go to the next slide, one of the things that's really cool about Canada is that it's a very, very diverse country. So, we have major cities, we have small towns, we're on 3 coasts, we span, a huge landmass, but we also have so many different cultures represented in Canada. So we don't just have 2, we do have 2 official languages, but we have many, many languages that are spoken among the Canadian population, which is one of the most multicultural countries in the world. And every place has a different character from each other. So Toronto, the city that I'm in, Canada's largest city, the 3rd largest city in North America. We surpassed Chicago a couple years ago to be bigger than them. We are actually a very multicultural city that has more than 70 countries represented around the world, communities from 70 different countries. We even have a little Malta. Like Malta has a community in Toronto, so it's nuts. And then Ottawa is actually the capital of the country. It's the political capital. So it's like our Washington, D.C. So that's a very different experience. Sherbrooke is in Quebec, which is Canada's only French-speaking. French is the only official language in Quebec. There's lots of people that speak English, and in Bishop's, it's an English language education. But you're surrounded by a province that speaks predominantly French and has a very, very distinct culture. And then you have Vancouver on the west coast, which is sort of like British Columbia, where you have the mountains and in Alberta and the Rockies and the Pacific Ocean, and then you have the Maritimes, the East Coast, lobster, sort of like Maine, friendly people, all those things that you know about like East Coasters, right? We have 4 seasons, so we don't just have winter, okay? We have winter, spring, summer, and fall. It gets quite hot in the summer. It can be quite cold in the winter, although this winter has been actually quite mild, which has been great because that means we can all get outside and get our exercise like we're supposed to be doing. So one of the things I want you to remember is that when you come to a country like Canada, if you come and study in Canada, you are not alone. Whatever cultural community you may come from, there are going to be people near you and nearby that come from the same cultural community and have very similar backgrounds and interests and experiences. experiences. So it's this wonderful opportunity to study in a country that's open, that's welcoming, that's inclusive, that's diverse, that speaks multiple languages, that speaks multiple cultures, and really brings you that global experience all in one place that I think most people are very much looking for. So I'm going to pass it on now to I believe it's Kelvin is up next. I'm not sure. It's either Kelvin or Kelly. And yes, it is Kelvin. And he's going to talk more specifically about what post-secondary education looks like in Canada.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ryan. I love the toque. Definitely winter over here as well. And again, I love the Canadian stereotype too. It always makes me laugh, but it is true. I have so many toques, I can't keep track of them. And speaking of Canadian stereotypes as well, you know, Canadians sometimes are known for being quiet and humble and modest. We don't like to brag, but I'm actually going to take a few minutes here to kind of break that Canadian stereotype, because we have a lot to offer the world. And I want to brag about some of the things that we have here in our great country. First of all, Canada ranks 3rd for education around the world. That's huge. That's something that very few countries can say, you know, obviously we're 3rd, but it's something that is something we like to share with the world as well. It's not something we kind of hogged for ourselves. Myself, Kelly, Ryan, our job is to go abroad to different countries around the world and promote Canadian education so that other students can take advantage of it. And of course, another thing you want to consider when thinking about post-secondary is the quality of life in the country you're going to. In Canada, we can brag that we were ranked 1st for quality of life back in 2018, and we think we've kind of carried that through to 2021 as best as we can, and we're still very, very high ranked overall. So it's such a great country to come for education and just a general overall safe experience. Some other things I want to highlight too is, of course, that Canada is a smaller country, as Ryan mentioned, 37 million people. But when it comes to things like research, we account for almost 3% of scientific research worldwide. And this is something to really consider, especially if you're in the areas of STEM. You know, your science, your tech, your engineering, those areas. Canada is very collaborative when it comes to R&D in those regions, but again, such a small country, we still account for almost 3% of scientific research worldwide. So that's something to consider, both as a student and as a graduate, just the number of opportunities that exist in this country for everybody. And of course, another thing we like to talk about is just how competitive our cost of living is when we're compared to other top-ranking destinations. This is something that you definitely want to consider. I know at 17, 18, you might not be thinking of finances right now, but it is something you will have to think about. And Canada not only offers this high quality of life, this high quality education, but we offer it at a very, very competitive cost, both for living, tuition, and other fees like that. So that's something you definitely want to consider when thinking about post-secondary destinations. And if we can go on to the next slide, please. I do just want to highlight some other areas of Canadian education that sometimes don't always get talked about. And the first one is, of course, the work opportunities. And when I'm referring to work opportunities, I'm referring to both work as a student and work as a graduate, but also work outside the classroom too. As an international student in Canada on a study permit, you are not limited in what you can take advantage of. Almost any work opportunity that's available for a Canadian is available for an international student as well, as your study permit allows you this flexibility to take advantage of not only work opportunities, but experiential learning opportunities outside of the classroom, something that I think all 3 of us will definitely talk a little bit more about in our individual institution presentations. Another thing I want to talk about too is, of course, the portability of a Canadian degree. Now, with the majority of you tuning in from the US and maybe some from other countries, one thing to consider is the fact that a Canadian degree is recognized around the world. And this is really nice because you can come to Canada for your undergraduate degree, and you can obviously stay here to continue on to postgrad, whether it's master's, PhD, etc. But maybe you want to return home. Maybe you want to return to your home state, your home country, and continue your studies there. Your Canadian degree will be recognized. It's portable. You can take it around the world with you. And of course, when we think of international education and you coming to Canada, you're obviously leaving your home country and coming to a new one. And this can be a little intimidating. I completely understand how intimidating this can be. But one thing that you should know about Canada, of course, you can be rest assured that we are a safe and welcoming country. We have a safe and welcoming environment We are a stable country, both economically and politically, and in other social contexts as well. We're also a very diverse country as well. Canada really likes to highlight the diversity, the number of immigrants we welcome every year, as well as, of course, just the general diversity in both our big cities and our small towns as well. And another thing I want to talk about when it comes to Canadian education is, again, just how consistent and how high of a quality it is. Almost every single institution at the university level is publicly funded in Canada. And what we really like about this system is that it assures a high quality of education and consistency across the country. Obviously, the three of us here today would love to see you come to our respective institutions, but we also understand that no matter where you go in the country, you will be receiving that consistent and high quality education. Now, you may be asking yourselves, well, if every institution is so great and they offer this high quality education, what is there to consider? And those are some points that we will highlight throughout this presentation today in terms of what to consider between different institutions. Are they a smaller institution? Are they a bigger institution? What areas might they specialize in? Are they located in a smaller town, a bigger urban center? These are kind of the questions that you want to think about when considering education, specifically post-secondary here in Canada. But again, rest assured that no matter where you go, you are going to have that consistent and high quality education. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Canada has very affordable costs, high quality of life. It's all part of that wonderful Canadian experience. And now I'm going to pass it on to my colleague Kelly just to talk a little bit more about what to expect at Canadian universities and with the Canadian experience.
Perfect. Thank you, Calvin. So I'm going to just switch over to the next slide now. And we're going to discuss university studies in Canada. So what can you expect if you come to Canada? What can you expect from studying at any one of our 100 universities around the country? So although a very large country, we have just about 100 scattered around the different provinces with over 15,000 programs and course, field of studies that you can go into at both the undergraduate level and the graduate level as well. So these institutions range from larger institutions, usually more located in an urban city, such as Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. And then we also have smaller undergraduate campuses. So that would be an example like Bishop's, usually more in a rural setting, which I'll talk a little bit more about in my presentation. So you're really having a bunch of different options from whether you want to go into university that has tens of thousands of students or between 100 and 1,000 students. So it's really tailored to you. And something I would really love to touch on is our professors in Canada. So I can talk about the experiences I've had with professors being very caring and supportive. They really take investment into your academic career. Obviously, this is dependent at what university, what level of studies you're in, but overall in Canada, we're known to have very supportive professors. So that's something that you want to look for in a university degree because they will be one of your biggest resources. No matter what program you go into, no matter what country you're studying in, having that relationship with your professor will really, I would like to say, make or break your experience, as well as cutting edge technology and research. So, we're just right across the border from the US, so the technology that you have, we have, and you really see it throughout the universities here. And then also, Kelvin talked a little bit about, working in Canada. We also have co-op opportunities and institutions, and I would say it's customary for most universities to offer that. So that brings me into working while studying. So what's great about Canada that Kelvin touched on is that you can work while you're here studying in Canada. The visa that you would get as a student allows you to work up to 20 hours during the school year and 40 hours, so like a full-time job during any scheduled break. So that's during the winter break and summer break, which is really great to take advantage of it. That includes on-campus and off-campus opportunities. So you're not missing out. The same with internships and co-ops, which in Canada, they're all paid. So whether you find an internship on your own or through the school, it will be paid, as well as any co-ops that you do. Most schools do have co-op programs for some of their courses. And we have applied research projects. So I know that at the undergraduate level, you might not see research as much depending on the university you go to, but definitely the graduate level research projects are very big here. And I don't want to get too much into the nitty gritty of the student visas, but you can go onto the website, cic.gc.ca, it's the Canadian government website, to see pretty much all of the information that you would need to know before coming here, as well as applying for the visa and what that visa can give you, as well as the opportunities to be able to work after you're done university. So having completed your degree in Canada, even as an international student, you have the ability to switch over and apply for a work visa if you want to stay here, which I know a lot of students that have decided to do that come from the States or Europe. So that's pretty much my section for the study in Canada. Where to begin, you can go to educanada.ca, find a university college program, see the costs. It will vary from province to province and institution to institution. But as Kelvin mentioned, most universities are public. So that education that you're getting from any university is pretty uniform. Same with tuition, again, depending on the provinces. And then you do want to check out that website for any requirements that you might have to fulfill as an international student. So at this point, I'm going to transition over to Bishops. So as I mentioned, I'm from Sherbrooke, Quebec. So we're just an hour and a half outside of Montreal. Bishops would fall into the range of one of those smaller universities, undergraduate primarily, with just under 3,000 students. So you can see when the others talk about their universities, the differences between the number of students. So we're a smaller one, 3,000 students. You won't know everybody, but you'll definitely get to know a lot of friendly faces, including our faculty. We have a 19-to-1 ratio for students and our faculties, so our professors are very available. And what's great about Bishops is it's very residential. So we have our one centralized campus, which you can see here. It looks a little bit like Hogwarts. And 97% of our students live within walking distance. So we have residents on campus, but we also have a student village that's anywhere from a 2 to 15-minute walk. So it's very accessible. And 29% of our students are international students. So we have over 30 states from the US that are represented on campus, as well as 80 countries from around the world. So our campus is very international. We of course have, International Student Center to help you with all the things that might be different from students from Canada. If you have any questions at all after this presentation, you can reach me on the platform, or if you want to take down my email. But then I'm just going to switch over now a little bit more about where we're located. And at this point, I want to stress the fact, so unlike Kelvin and Ryan, I am in Quebec, and Quebec is French. But as you can see, I am clearly Anglophone. You do not need to know any French to come into a university in Quebec, an English university, of course. I know that's something that a lot of students that I speak with from the US worry about the most. Like, what if I want to do my groceries? So I can tell you that where Bishops is situated, it's very Anglophone. We have a tiny little community here. So you can definitely get through all 4 years without, learning a word of French. With that being said, it's a perfect opportunity to get a second language under your belt. What we have at Bishops, we offer a program, it's Français et Québécois. So it's pretty much French classes, and any of those classes that you take within that program, you'll get at a Quebec tuition rate. So I'll go over tuition pretty quickly at the end, but you'll notice that from all of Canada, Quebec's tuition is one of the cheaper options, especially for domestic students. So as a Quebec student, you're going to be paying less than if you were in BC or New Brunswick. International students, I think it's pretty uniform what the costs are throughout Canada. But if you're taking any of our French classes or a French program, you'll get those at the Quebec rate, which can significantly make a difference for your finances. So during the Study in Canada presentation, we talked a little bit about how central Canada is. So if you see on the map here, Sherbrooke, Bishops, we're about a 40-minute drive from the Vermont border. So we're pretty close. We actually have quite a few students ski over the weekend. We're very close to Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City. It's a really good place, to study in Canada because you're very central. So same for Ontario and Quebec. They're very central part of Canada and it's easily accessible to get to the rest of the country. And what's great about Sherbrooke is that we're not a huge city. So Bishops itself is more of a rural campus. It's very outdoorsy. We have a lot of skiing and hiking and biking trails close by, but we also have the city of Sherbrooke, which is about 165,000 in population. So it's not huge, but it's not small. We have everything you need: movie theaters, malls, restaurants, pretty much anything that a city can have to offer. And what we don't have, Montreal or Ottawa will. So it's really the perfect mix of urban and rural. And then a few numbers that I like to throw out quickly is our average class size is about 38. So depending on the program you're in and the year that you're in, 38 pretty average class size. Obviously, your intro classes as a first-year student might be a bit bigger, but at Bishops, our largest class fits about 120. So you're definitely not going to see anything larger than that. And as you get throughout your years at Bishops, you know, you can see class sizes as small as 5 to 10, depending on what you're studying. So it's a very intimate setting. We also have a great exchange program. So not unique to the Bishops, every university offers that, it's pretty standard. But being such an intimate school with just under 3,000 students, if you want to study abroad, while you're technically studying abroad from the US, you'll get your first or second choice. Since it's not as competitive to get in, there's not as many students applying. We have a partnership with over 550 universities from around the world that allows you to continue paying the tuition you're already paying at Bishops. So if you do want to study in Europe or Asia, at South America during your time at Bishops as an international student, your prices won't increase, so just continue paying the tuition you're already paying. And then to talk about a little bit about our education. So Bishops is a liberal arts education institution. So what that means is that we want students to tailor their degree to what they want to learn. So you might come in to university with a vague idea of what you want to do. And at a school like Bishops, you have the opportunity to take that and run with it. So we want you to explore and have the freedom to try out different things. One of the main things at Bishops is flexibility. So let's say you want to study psychology and neuroscience, but you also just have a passion for music. You can put those degrees together and take music as a double major or as a minor. So we really want you to tailor your degree to what you want to do later on. And then the programs that we have, so we have over 100 different programs from 5 different faculties. We have our Williams School of Business. I probably should have mentioned I was also a student at Bishops. I actually just graduated last year, so I'm relatively new to this. It's sometimes still, you know, think more as a student, but I graduated from business, from marketing. So we have our business program. We have natural science and mathematics if you're looking for a bachelor's of science or just a BA in science. We have our School of Education. So if you're looking for a BEd, and I do just want to reiterate that it was said earlier that any degree you get in Canada is transferable no matter where you go. Of course, with education, depending where you want to teach, you might have, you know, an extra test to do depending if you want to go back to the States or a different province in Canada. But what's great about our education school is that in your 4 to 5 years, our education program is 5 years, you have over 700 hours of practicum. And that was one of the benefits of studying and, you know, exploring Canadian universities, is that you get all these practicum hours too that go towards your degree. And of course, we have social science and humanities, so like psychology, sociology, like I said, over 100 different programs to choose from and to tailor and make your own. And of course, experiential learning. So what that is, it's connecting the theory that you learn in class outside of the class. So I can speak as a business student. Experiential learning was a big thing that we did a lot. So we would learn one theory in business class, and then the next week, we would have a company come in with a real life problem that we would have to solve. And this isn't unique to Bishops. Experiential learning is really big in Canada. We want, you know, instead of just sitting in lecture halls for hours on end, we really want you to apply what you learn. So you're really getting the opportunity to develop your knowledge and your skills, and it's something great to add to your resume as well. And we have a number of different, you know, research funds for students to get involved in, and we have the best project fund. So if there's something you really want to do while you're at Bishops and we don't offer it, you can apply to get money to study it, you know, for a semester somewhere else or over the summer. And we have a bunch of different funds that if we don't have it, you know, you could probably get it. And in terms of admissions requirements, I'm going to touch on this very briefly, just because I know that education at the high school level in the States varies from state to state, even from school to school in terms of the curriculum. So in total, we're looking for like an overall average of about 80%. Again, this really varies from school to school. We look for 5 senior level grade 12 or equivalent academic courses, one of them being English. Of course, the minimum requirements to be accepted is obviously a high school diploma. And then depending on the program you want to go into, our business and science programs have a little bit more requirements, so like a grade 12 level math, and for science, math, as well as some science courses. But if you have specific questions about admissions, I don't want to take up the time talking about that, because like I said, it's case to case, so you can always message me if you have a specific question or visit me on the platform later on today. And finally, I'll just touch on tuition really quickly. So I just want to note that this is all in Canadian dollars. So take the exchange rate into account because it's a pretty big discount. So for tuition and fees, you're looking around $25,000 for the whole academic year. If you want to stay on campus, which I would highly suggest any first-year student, no matter where you're going, if on-campus housing is available, take it. It's a really great experience. So for that first year living on campus, you're looking about $10,000 in total for the rent and for a meal plan. At Bishop's, we have an all-you-can-eat type of buffet-style dining hall, so you can come in and out as much as you want, take whatever you want, and you're not charged, per meal. And again, this cost would significantly decrease if you decide to live off campus, for example. So we're talking about, the quality of life in Canada and in Quebec. Sherbrooke specifically at this time is very affordable. If you want to look at it in US dollars, the average rent around here is, $200 to $250 US, so about $300 to $400 Canadian. For books and supplies, again, this is the university that made these numbers up. I personally never paid $1,300 for books and supplies in any given year. As a student, you're not obligated to buy all of your books brand new. You can definitely rent or buy them used, or you can borrow them from other students. So the most that you would ever pay for books, in my opinion, is $1,300, which still sounds a bit ridiculous. You definitely don't need to spend that much money. So in total, you're looking at around $37,500. So again, this is in Canadian. Take the exchange rate into consideration, as well as any awards, bursaries, or scholarships. So we do have scholarships available for international students. We have a merit scholarship. So as soon as you apply, your grades are taken into an account and you're put into a pool of applicants, and those with the best grades are just pretty much given free money. And we do have financial aid as well. And finally, I like to end off with, if you just want to attend university, you want to get your degree and get out and move on, pick one of the bigger schools. But if you're looking to experience learning and life while attending university, then consider Bishop's, because that's what we specialize in. I know a lot of, you are probably from the US or from outside of the US, but Bishop's is one of the only schools in Canada that can offer that Americanized university experience, where you're not just there to get your degree, but you're also here to make, lifelong memories. And that's really what we specialize in. So I would say definitely consider Bishop's if you're looking for an experience like no other. And thank you for listening to me today. I'll pass it on. I believe it's Kelvin. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. We're on all of the socials, including TikTok, and hope to hear from you guys, later on. If you have any questions, let us know. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. I'm going to share my screen here. There you go. So you should be able to see my landing screen. Thank you so much, Kelly, for getting us started. I always love learning about Bishop's. Your TikTok account sounds interesting. I don't know if I think I'm too old for that at this point, unfortunately. I hope I don't ever get asked to run Carleton's. But anyway, hi everyone. Just like Kelly, I'm also a graduate of the institution I now work for. I graduated from Carleton back in 2017, almost 4 years ago. And I've been in international recruitment and admissions now for approximately 3.5 years at this point. So I'm just here to talk to you a little bit more about what Carleton University has to offer. So we will get started, of course, with where we're located. As it's been mentioned throughout the presentation, we are located in the province of Ontario, in the city of Ottawa. The city of Ottawa borders the French province of Quebec. From where I'm standing right now, actually, if I look at that window, I can see the province of Quebec. We are quite close. And Ottawa as a city is a bilingual city. It's English and French, because those are Canada's two official languages. However, Carleton is a fully English institution. In terms of our location in regards to Montreal, we're about an 1.5 hour drive. From Toronto, it's about a 4-hour drive or a 1-hour flight. Ottawa as a city is home to about 1 million people. It's Canada's 5th largest city. And as the capital city, it's home to a lot of things you won't find in other Canadian cities. This includes things like our federal government, our Supreme Court, 134 international embassies, major businesses, engineering companies, tech firms. A lot exists within this city that you might not find elsewhere. It's also quite beautiful. It's safe, it's clean, it's diverse. It's a G7 capital, so it has a lot to offer both its students as well as its residents. In terms of some other things I'd like to highlight, you'll hear the term capital advantage come up quite a lot because of the advantages we believe exist when studying in the capital city. As I mentioned, it is a beautiful city of around 1 million people, and it's vibrant and fun. There's always stuff to do here. I've been here about 7 years now, and I still have things on my bucket list that I have not completed. So there's always something to do and something to take advantage of. And of course, as I mentioned, there's tons of opportunity within the city, both as a student and as a graduate. And within this beautiful city, our campus is located about 5 minutes from the downtown core. You'll see an overhead shot of it on your screen now. On the right-hand side, we're surrounded by the river. On the left-hand side, the Rideau Canal, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which in the winter freezes over to become the world's longest skating rink. You'll also notice our campus is self-contained. So we're bordered by the river, the canal, and Bronson Avenue along the top there. So everything you see in this shot is Carleton property. And what's really nice about a self-contained community is it adds this aspect of safety and also a good collegial feeling too. That when you're on campus, you're only ever seeing Carleton students, staff, and faculty, as well as every building you see on your screen is connected by underground tunnels. Obviously, international students worry about winter, I understand. One, it's something you definitely get used to, and it's not too bad. And two, if you really don't like it, you can stay underground and get around our entire campus. In regards to our location compared to downtown, like I said, about a 5-minute drive, 10 to 15 minutes by transit, depending on the time of day. And you can see it in regards to the downtown core. In terms of our community, we are very diverse. We are definitely one of the larger universities, not the largest. We're kind of medium large, somewhere in that range. We're approximately 31,000 total students. Of that, about 21,000 are undergraduate students that come from over 150 countries. About 15% of our student population is international, and we're well represented from all areas of the world. In terms of programs we offer, they're divided up amongst 5 different faculties. You'll see them listed on your screen here: engineering and design, arts and social sciences, public affairs, our business, our Sprott School of Business, and of course, our Faculty of Science as well. And we are Canada's 3rd most comprehensive university, which means we offer a wide variety of different programs for students to take advantage of. And these programs, there's over 100 different majors spread out across 22 different degrees. You can see them listed on the screen in front of you. Amongst international students, definitely areas of STEM, so our Bachelor of Engineering, Architecture, Computer Science, and Health Sciences are very popular, but being in the capital city, we're also known for a lot of our liberal arts or public affairs programs, whether it's journalism, international, global and international studies, or our policy management program. We're well known for a variety of different areas, and if you have any specific questions about one particular degree, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions in the chat on the platform following this presentation. We've talked a lot about experiential learning, and as we've mentioned, it's something that's incorporated into every degree, no matter where you go in Canada, whether it's practicum, an internship, things like that. But another thing we like to promote is, of course, co-op. It's something you might not be familiar with. It essentially allows students to take a certain number of terms off from their study and work full-time in a job related to their field. The university assists in them finding this job, and all co-op positions are paid. It's a great way to apply what you're learning in the classroom in a job setting, as well as really add to your resume so that upon graduation you have experience in the workforce and can bring something to the company you're applying to. Now, in terms of admissions, as Kelly was kind of mentioning earlier, admissions can be a little more complex than something I can squeeze into a 30-second window here in the presentation. So please, if you have specific admissions questions, reach out to me on the platform. What I can tell you is that admissions at Carleton is strictly based on your academic transcripts and performance from high school. We do not require SATs or ACTs. We don't require those external tests. We don't require reference letters or personal statements for admissions. We do give advanced credit for students who complete AP exams with a 4 or higher, also IBHLs, and if there are any A-level students in here, we do offer advanced credit for those as well. So please keep that in mind. Again, if you have any specific questions, please let me know. Also note that prerequisites do vary by program. So a prerequisite for computer science is going to be different than a prerequisite requirement for engineering. So again, if you're confused or you have further questions, just reach out at any time. In terms of how to apply, there's 2 different ways. You can apply directly to Carleton, or you can use our Ontario version of the Common App. It's the OUAC, Ontario University Application Centre. You can find that using the website on the screen in front of you. Carleton and York, the Glendon campus, were both listed on there, as well as every other university within the province of Ontario. When it comes to an application, we don't care which option you pick, whether it's the direct or OUAC. It's entirely meant to make your lives easier, whether you have a wide selection of Ontario universities you want to apply to all at once, or if you just want a direct application. Once you submit, you'll need to upload your documents, and of course, we will hopefully get back to you with a favorable decision. In terms of tuition and other fees, you'll see them on the screen in front of you in Canadian and US dollars. You'll notice tuition has a bit of a range. Some of the Faculty of Arts and Social Science programs tend to be on that 28,000 Canadian dollar end. Engineering and architecture tend to be on the upper end of the 39,000 Canadian dollars. You'll notice one fee for residents, because that includes your meal plan. It's an all access meal plan as well. So these are just things to consider. Of course, with these fairs, I get a lot of questions about scholarships. Unfortunately, Carleton and most Canadian institutions don't offer any sort of full ride scholarships. That does tend to be more of a trend you see in the US, but we do have an abundance of partial scholarships, some that are guaranteed, and some that you do have to apply for. For example, we have our entrance scholarships, which are automatically given to first-year students based on their performance in high school and range anywhere from 1,000 to 4,000 Canadian dollars per year. We will tell you which one of these scholarships you qualify for with your offer of admission, so you'll know how much money you're earning before you have to make a decision. And we do have additional scholarships you can apply for. All of that information can be found on the website. And again, I'm happy to share that info in the chat. As an international student, even if you're just crossing the border from the US or coming from elsewhere, you will have access to the International Student Services Office. They're your one-stop shop for all things Carleton and the international experience, whether it's questions about your study permit, ensuring you're set up for the postgraduate work permit, all things like that, whether you just want to meet other international students. They run workshops on different kind of Canadian culture events. Like, for example, we'll host a Canadian Thanksgiving. We'll take you skating on the Rideau Canal and teach you how to skate if it's your first time. They're a very vibrant office. They're a lot of fun. I work really closely with them. And as an international student, even if you're just from the US, you will have access to everything that they offer. We also always encourage our students to get involved outside of the classroom, whether it's through recreation and athletics, which is all included in your tuition, or our over 300 different clubs and societies. There's a lot of ways to get involved, and I highly, highly encourage our students to do so. Of course, with every offer for a high school student, you do have a guaranteed spot in our on-campus residence. You saw the overhead shot of the campus earlier. All the residences are contained within our community, so you're no more than a 5 to 10 minute walk from all of your academic buildings, and all the residences are, of course, connected by tunnels as well. With my time wrapping up, with COVID, unfortunately, you won't be able to visit the campus at this time. So we've launched an online virtual tour, which you can go and check out on the website down there at the bottom. It covers every inch of our campus and really allows you to experience everything Carleton has to offer without having to leave the comfort and the safety, of course, of your own home. And given the nature of COVID and the fact that I am working from home alongside my colleagues, we are very reachable at this point since we're not traveling. So if you do want to set up an individual appointment, attend one of our online events, or just join us on our daily chats, you can certainly do so. And I'm happy to provide more information about that. But at this time, I would like to hand things off to Ryan, who is going to talk more about York and Glendon's campus. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Calvin and Kelly, for that. Man, one of the things that I love about being a recruiter for Canadian universities is that honestly, all our universities are amazing. And Kelly touched upon this a little bit. It's really about like, you don't have to worry about the quality of education if you could study in Canada. It's more of like finding the right fit for you in terms of where it's located, what programs does it have, you know, that kind of thing. So it's an embarrassment of riches, I think. So let's talk a little bit about Glendon Campus, and I'm going to explain why I keep calling it Glendon Campus and not Glendon College or Glendon University. Glendon Campus is actually a campus of York University. So York University is Canada's third largest university with more than 55,000 undergraduate and graduate students. And it's also located in Toronto, which is Canada's largest city by a lot. Our urban area has about 6 million people. But Glendon is very different compared to the main campus. And I'm going to sort of, go over why with our programs and all that kind of stuff. But just to let you know, the York main Keele campus is home to most of our students. About 52,500 students go to the Keele campus. Glendon is much, much, much smaller. It's about 22,500 students. So it's like 5% the size of the main campus. It's also closer to downtown Toronto. Toronto, I'm biased. It's my hometown. It is the best city in the world. It has I'm a big food guy. So like any food from any country, you name it, we have at least a couple of restaurants or specialty stores that sell food from that part of the world. We have the Toronto Raptors, who you might know, were NBA champions 2 years ago. I don't exactly know how they're doing well right now. I'm not a big basketball fan, but we have, major sports teams, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Toronto Argonauts football. We have, as I said, the Raptors. Glendon campus is located in the Brattle Path neighborhood of Uptown Toronto. Who backs on to our campus? Drake's backyard. You might know Drake, the rapper from Toronto. He is our next door neighbor. So sometimes you might, if you come to Glendon, you might catch him walking his dog or something like that, whatever. Not very much these days, although there's not really much else to do except walk your dog. So maybe, ironically, this was probably be the best time to see Drake, even though there's actually no one on campus. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So I want to go over just very, very quickly, and I'm mindful of the time because I want to make sure that you have time to ask questions. And by the way, as I mentioned in the chat, if you think of a question for any of us or for all of us, a specific question to one of our schools or just a general study in Canada question, please make sure to put it in your Q&A when you think of it so that you don't forget. So you can click on the Q&A section and put your question in. We will get to them at the end of my presentation when I stop yapping. So we have 22 undergraduate programs at Glendon, and they're separated into clusters. So you can see these different themes. So like human and social sciences, business and economics, education, government and law, languages, cultures and translations, and sciences. So those are not the degrees, like you don't get a degree in human and social sciences. We actually have 7 degrees that you can choose from within that cluster. So we have Canadian studies, communications, gender and women's studies, history. We have education. We have languages, culture, and translation. Technically, we're actually York University's bilingual campus. So we have English and French as modes of instruction, but you do not have to have any French to go to Glendon. You will get some French as you pick it up along the way, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But everybody who goes to Glendon graduates with a bilingual degree, no matter what your level of French was before you started. And it doesn't matter if you become perfectly fluent in French or if you just pick up some on your 4 years at Glendon, you will earn a bilingual degree from Glendon Campus, York University, in whatever program you study. If there are any people here who have a sort of Latinx cultural background, we have a robust Hispanic studies program at Glendon. So you can actually even do a trilingual program, and you don't even have to know Spanish if it's something that's you're just interested in picking up, or if it's maybe a part of your cultural history that you want to get reacquainted with. You can do Hispanic studies or take some Spanish classes. And when I say Hispanic studies, it doesn't mean it's just a purely Spanish language. I'm talking about Spanish, Spanish and Spanish language, culture, history, traditions from Central America, South America, North America, from Europe. It's a very, very interesting program with extremely engaged faculty members. A lot of our students have the idea of going on to law school or going into government or business. And so our business economics programs, economics, international business administration, we actually have a dual degree program where you do 2 years at Glendon and then you do 2 years at the English language M. Lyon Business School in Lyon, France. So you actually are in one foreign country and then you get to spend 2 years in another country in France itself. So that's something that's very, very interesting to a lot of students. And then we also have political science, we have philosophy, we have international studies. We also have the sciences, biology and psychology. And so I'm really going to talk to you as well about how that really plays out on a day-to-day basis in the classroom. What we're all about, because we are so small, even though we're in such a large city, we are all about the personalized experience. What we like to say is small campus, big heart. As I said, small, 2,500 total students on average per year at Glendon. Our average class size at Glendon is 26. That's the average. So you have some classes that are larger than that, but you have many classes that actually have smaller sizes than that. What's the advantage? You get to know your colleagues really well. To your professors, you are not a student number. You are a name. You're a first name. You really get to know your professors, and you often have them for multiple courses throughout your four-year degree, which is a great way to build those relationships, those contacts. If you're interested in going to grad school, if you want professional contacts outside of the campus, your professors are very, very supportive and connected that way. We do have residences on campus, and actually right now we've been taking advantage of the current situation where our residences do not have students, and we have gone under a multi-million-dollar renovation project for our residences. They are going to be brand new state-of-the-art student facilities that will be ready for September 2021. So we're really excited about that. Our campus is very beautiful. Even if you're in the middle of the largest city in Canada and the third largest city in North America, if you were just standing in the middle of Glendon campus, you would have no idea that you were in such a large city. It is a beautiful, green, lush, pastoral, bucolic type of campus. Very much feels like a New England sort of, country campus, like a Middlebury or a Champlain or something like that, right? It's that kind of experience, but in the middle of the city. So you truly do get the best of the both worlds. We also have athletic facilities as well, full athletic facilities, gym, pool, racquetball courts. We have intramural sports. We have all those kinds of things that you're interested in. If you're an athletic person, we have intramural athletics. With our main York campus, we have varsity athletics as well in most sports. So if you're an athletic person, there are definitely opportunities to get your game on at Glendon. We're all about hands-on learning. So we're talking about experiential education, which has been talked about before, internships, paid internships, summer experiences, going abroad for a semester, exchange programs. We have all those kinds of sort of hands-on experiential learning programs within all of our programs. You always have the opportunity to do those kinds of things that really support your academics. It's not good enough anymore to go through your four-year degree and just study. It's just not going to cut it anymore, especially for employability later on. It's important you get good grades, especially if you want to go to professional school or grad school afterwards. But you need to support your studies with experiential education, either through your program on your own. And that's why it's so great that with the Canadian student visa, you are allowed to work on or off campus for a maximum of 20 hours per week. And then you can also work in the summers in between, because it just gives you that professional experience that so many employers are looking for, even though it is kind of unfair to be demanding that of a person who's just graduated from university. But that's the reality of the situation. What else do our degrees give you? They give you cultural competency. They give you skills in collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving, leadership and social intelligence and communication. And what does this mean? Well, where are Glendon grads now? Well, you can find them in a lot of pretty high places. So we have graduates in Sony Music Entertainment, Citizenship and Immigration Canada. They're involved in politics with the High Commission, the American Translators Association, IBM, one of the largest countries in the world, the Canadian Cancer Society, the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And in fact, when we survey our employers, so those are people who have hired Glendon graduates, 9 out of 10 of employers that have hired Glendon grads are satisfied or very satisfied with the grads that they've hired for Glendon. So we have an incredibly great reputation in Toronto and in Canada. And by the way, Toronto, not only is it Canada's largest city, but it is also Canada's cultural and economic financial capital. So that's something that you really want to know. All the major corporations, either Canadian-based or international, they all have major operations in the city of Toronto. So when you're talking about enriching your degree with professional experiences, there's no other place in Canada that can give you those opportunities, because you name it, we have it. Also, as I said, we are officially York's bilingual campus. So again, I want to emphasize, as what Kelly was saying with bishops, you do not need to know a single word of French before you start your studies at Glendon. You will develop your second language skills, and I'm going to tell you why that's important. It leads to better employment, even if you're not fluent in a second or a third language, even if you have a little bit of linguistic competency in another language, that opens the doors to better employment, to better pay, to advancement. It shows you're global, you're internationally minded, you're open to the world, and that you have a skill set that not a lot of other people have, even if it's not perfect, even if it's far from perfect. It's better to have a little bit than not at all, is what I say. It opens the door to global opportunities, especially if you want to work in diplomacy or in any kind of international consortium, anything like that. If you pick up a little bit of another language, then it's obviously going to open doors. And French after English is one of the most common, Latin-based or European-based languages in the world. So when you're talking about the Western world, especially, you're talking English, Spanish, and French are the dominant languages, right? And we have the opportunity to have a bilingual or a trilingual education at Glendon. So it's really advantageous. So here's how that works, just very, very quickly, because I'm mindful that we don't only have a minute. So there are 4 levels of the bilingual degree, and it depends, and this is whatever program you have, but it goes from base level to a class above, which is the trilingual program. But as I said, everybody who graduates from Glendon campus programs, no matter the major, has at least the base level bilingual Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science, and it is a degree from York. So it's a recognized York University degree. And it's, as I said, York is Canada's 3rd largest institution, post-secondary, so it's very well recognized within Canada, in the United States, and internationally. So very quickly, how much will university at Glendon cost? Our tuition and course fees, these are averages and in Canadian dollars, about $32,000. Books and equipment, as Kelly said, it really depends on the program, but at Glendon, especially now we're going more materials online, it can be $1,500, but it's most likely less than that. We do offer full health and dental insurance, which is about $900, so the total there is about $34,000. And then you have options for housing. You can get a room, and it's going to be a brand new room next year, and you can opt a different level of meal plan, or you can live off campus. Now, I will say that Toronto is a bit more of an expensive city to live in, so I would say that living on campus would definitely make more financial sense when you're talking about Glendon. So that would definitely be something that you would for sure want to consider. However, we do also have scholarships and financial aid. We have automatic entrance scholarships that start at $1,000. Our scholarships go all the way up to $140,000. For international students, they're based largely on academic merit, not financial need. And if you have advanced placement, A-levels, French bac, or IB, you can earn up to 1 full year of academic credit standing, so that would save you some money as well. And as I said, the Canadian student visa allows you to work on and off campus. We do not require SATs, and with York University, federal student aid from the United States carries over, so your FAFSA works with us, which is really good. A lot of students from the US are worried that they might get financial aid, but it won't work for a school in Canada. For York University, FAFSA, hey, it's all good. So that's a big relief for American students. So keep that in mind. We'd love to see you again. We're having an international applicant preview on January 26th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can also participate in our weekly drop-ins and webinars. You can email liaison@glendon.yorku.ca. You can go to our website, yorku.ca/Glendon, or you can follow us on Insta. A lot of my younger colleagues are doing some crazy, awesome Instagram stories and stuff like that. And so our Instagram is @Glendon Campus. So I think that's it for me. And so now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to start answering some questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. That was awesome. I'm seeing a couple in the Q&A, and again, students, if you have any more, please post them. Another thing too is if you don't want to ask your questions in a public forum, I completely understand. The 3 of us will still be online with the general fair till 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so about 2 hours from now. So if you don't want to ask your questions in a public forum, you can reach out to us on the platform after this, and we'd be happy to assist you in any way. I was seeing the first question, and Kelly, maybe you can kind of take this one on about like entrepreneurship competitions in Canada. When I see things like this, I think of, DECA from high school, things like that. Did you get to experience anything like this during your business degree? Was there anything like that you were able to take advantage of?
So definitely there is. I think that's all over Canada, at Bishop specifically, especially in the business program. We have a bunch of different case competitions, domestic and international. Bishop's actually won last year in Germany. We have an entrepreneurship program as well as an entrepreneurship club that's funded by one of our alumni. So if you have a project in mind, you can take off. And I would say, yes, there's a bunch of different, competitions as well as opportunities at Bishop's, and I think around Canada as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Great. And Ryan at Glendon?
Yeah, so at Glendon, we have our own internal, I can't remember the acronym, but it's our own internal entrepreneurship skills competition with Glendon and also with York, with the main campus as well. And then we also compete against the other universities in Toronto, so Ryerson and University of Toronto, and actually some of the community colleges as well. One thing that I always mention is, and I hope this means something to those of you who are not in Canada. So we've actually had students who have presented business entrepreneurial ideas on Dragon's Den. Dragon's Den is the Canadian equivalent of Shark Tank. So if you're American, you've probably heard of Shark Tank. And we've had students that have been actually fairly successful pitching successful ideas to Dragon's Den as well. And that's actually filmed in Toronto. Most of our English language television in Canada is filmed in Toronto. So that's something. But we also have national competitions amongst different business schools and universities. And there are also corporations, that host their own competitions, like case competitions and stuff, that they engage different universities and business schools and colleges with. So Canada is a big country when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to corporate culture. And so there's definitely a lot of opportunities here for that.
Yeah, and I think with Carleton too, I'm just going to end up echoing everything that Ryan and Kelly have said, because again, Carleton has those opportunities too. Another thing I like to point out as well is that some universities, Carleton included, also have their own kind of internal sort of competitions for funding from within the university or from a local investor in terms of pitching your idea, kind of like in that Shark Tank, Dragon's Den kind of situation, and receiving funding for different ideas. I know at Carleton it's called our Hatch competitions, and the idea is to bring forth an entrepreneurial idea presented to investors and hopefully receive some sort of funding for that project. I'm seeing some other questions in here. The one from Kayla. Kayla, I do have to apologize. I think we'll need a little more context on that. So maybe if you're interested in any of us or all of us, definitely pop that question into our booths, and we'd be happy to find out a little more context and respond.
Yeah, there was also a follow-up question about the business competition. So
Sure.
do you have to study business to join those competitions? Well, it depends on the competition, right? So like there are certain competitions that are open to everybody. There are some that are business students only or in certain programs. But there's always opportunities to enter competitions like that. But it's really up to the individual competition to decide what their parameters are. But it's not a hard and fast rule that you must be a business student to do any business competition in Canada. That's definitely not the law. So.
Yeah, perfect. I'm also just seeing other questions about, scholarship options and things like that. And I think I kind of mentioned it in my portion of the presentation that, you're not going to find a full ride scholarship in Canada. I know some institutions do have more generous scholarships, but they generally are, application based. You do have to submit, some different forms of applications, usually some reference letters and things like that. Are there any sort of opportunities for funding at either of your universities?
Definitely, but to echo what you said, not a full ride. I just don't think that's something that we do in Canada. But it really does depend. For Bishop specifically, international students don't have as much access as our domestic students. But with that being said, I think it's important to take into account, especially for the American students, the exchange rate. Because I have friends who do have scholarships and throughout their times here have had awards and bursaries that you can win, just not even for being a good academic student, but for being involved in the community. And they're paying tuition of close to 10,000 to 15,000 Canadian dollars just from all of the different scholarships and awards that they've had on top of the exchange rate that's being applied. So although we don't, at Bishops also don't offer a full ride, it can be pretty affordable, especially if you're from the States and you're looking to go out of state. Canada is a really great option instead of that.
Yeah, I just want to add as well to that the way it works in Canada compared to, sometimes it's not like, oh, you have these great marks or you're a star athlete here's a big scholarship. Like our universities don't really work that way. We do offer automatic entrance scholarships. Most universities in Canada do, but as you've noticed, they are for the most part not what we would call a full ride. However, the more work you put into looking for scholarships, the better. So at Glendon, for example, like we have a universal sort of scholarship application form that you can fill out. It's for international students, and it asks a ton of information. And then based on the information, we would tell you what scholarships you are eligible to apply for. And then some of them, you know, they require an essay or they require some kind of, you know, like hoop to jump through, right? But the thing is that the more you work on researching the scholarships and doing the work towards them, the more chances you have of getting, you know, many scholarships. And a lot of the times you can just like, you know, add those up, and then it takes up a significant amount of the tuition that you owe. And then if you're a student, a person getting student aid, then, you know, you can carry that over as well from the United States. So it can really take a significant amount of the debt and burden off of your studies.
Yeah, and even outside of scholarships too, there are so many ways to fund your studies. I know working is one that international students can take advantage of, because again, like Kelly mentioned with the study permit, they can work part-time during their studies. They can work full-time during their breaks. I know co-op, which a lot of Canadian institutions offer, those opportunities are also paid, and usually paid quite well. I know in Ontario, at least, minimum wage is 15 Canadian dollars an hour, and generally co-op students are making well above that. So that's something to consider too. Yeah, exactly, Ryan. So that's something to consider too, is that, you know, outside of scholarships, there are other ways to fund your education. And again, if you have more specific questions about your situation, or you want to know what the universities offer, what you might qualify for, etc., we will be in the booths for the next 2 hours. But as 6 p.m. hits, I believe our time is up. So from myself, Kelly, Ryan, thank you everyone for joining us. It's always fun being able to connect with students and chat. So I'll just allow you to sign off, and I'll just say thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Bye.